Hi, welcome to another edition of North Shore Journal. I'm your host, Walt Kosmowski, and we have an extra special show for you today. With me on the set is Kristin Noon, and Kristin is the Executive Director of the Wenham Museum. Kristin, welcome.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here today.
And we are going to be discussing what I would characterize as a once-in-a-lifetime event, which will be an exhibit at the Wenham Museum, which is entitled Love, Shirley Temple. And this will feature some of the personal effects, the toys, dolls, costumes of the one and only Shirley Temple. And we'll be talking a little bit more in detail about what will be in the exhibit. And yes, we are talking about the Shirley Temple, who was probably the most famous, popular, most beloved child star ever to come out of Hollywood. And of course, I think we all know that she rose to stardom during a time in the United States which was a very depressed economic times. Yes. And I think she became the symbol of hope and of keeping a positive outlook. And she was truly called America's little darling.
Yes.
And the exhibit that we are talking about is having a very limited tour across the country. And later this year, there will be an auction of these items. And with us via Skype from Annapolis, Maryland, is Stuart Holbrook. And Stuart is the president of Theriaults, who will be conducting the auction and the final sale. Stuart, can you hear us? Are you with us?
I sure can. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome, and I see you've got some very interesting things behind you that we'll be talking about a little bit later. Now, first of all, I'd like to direct the first question here to Stuart. How did this whole idea of a Shirley Temple exhibit and auction come about? Where did the idea come from, Stuart?
We were first contacted by the family of the late Shirley Temple Black. Having so many of these pieces, they were very unsure as to really how to present or offer these out into the marketplace. So we presented the idea that it doesn't just have to be an auction of the pieces, that it could actually coincide with a fantastic moment where the collection travels around the country and gives America one really close and personal look at some of these amazing iconic artifacts.
Yeah. Now I understand that you and I'm gonna ask my control room to put up the logo, the Theriaults logo. That you are the doll masters, and tell us a little bit about that. How did Theriaults become the doll masters?
Well, really, what we are is the largest auction house in the world dealing in childhood objects. Antique dolls are a very big part of that marketplace and that collectible, but it really encompasses everything. It is embracing the history of childhood, if you will. And we've been 45 years in the marketplace of promoting and specializing in this one niche.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to ask, we're going to go through some of the items. We have some pictures, and you also, I think, have some of the actual items that will be on display and will be auctioned off there in the room with you. So let's see if we can do this. First of all, there is slide one. This is the Littlest Rebel costume, or no, this is the, I'm sorry, this is the cover of the catalog, is it not?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, this is, Kristin, you can help me out on this because Stuart can't see these, but this is the cover of the catalog, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah. And so after that, we have the Littlest Rebel, and this actually has her and a corresponding doll, and it says here that, as was tradition, the studio costume designers would make a matching doll in the same costume for Shirley's own collection. And now let's take a look at number two. And yeah, and this is, I think, very similar to the catalog cover, and this is the one it talks about Shirley's infectious smile, and we can all agree that she did have a very endearing persona, a very endearing smile. And maybe the third one, the next one, is her infamous or famous polka dot dress from the movie Stand Up and Cheer. And Stuart, I think you actually have that dress there with you. Talk a little bit about that.
That's correct. It is really perhaps the most iconic, if you would call, textile from the collection. This was her breakout moment. In 1934, when the movie came out, Shirley actually had a very small part in it, but it was the scene that everyone seemed to remember when they came out of the movie. And that's when she sang alongside James, I'm blanking out, but anyway, sang alongside and did a song called Baby Take a Bow, or sometimes referred to as Daddy Take a Bow, depending on your viewpoint. But it was this breakout moment that she had this song and everyone left with the vision of this costume, and it became for many years the costume that appeared on dolls, appeared in photographs and promotions. It really was her signature dress. Right. Amazing thing, when you look at it in person, you realize how small it is and how tiny she was at the time that this was filmed. It almost could be a doll dress.
A very interesting story, Stuart. Now, number 4, I'll tell a little bit about this. I guess when in 1935, Shirley Temple visited Hawaii. And when I first saw this, I thought that was an actual person there, but that is actually a life-size Japanese bride doll that was presented to her by the children of Hawaii as a gift, while and supposedly 30,000 fans were waiting for her when this was presented to her. And you actually, I can see now, Stuart, you have that actual doll and dress there with you.
Yes, it was a really amazing moment in Hawaii when the boat docked in Honolulu, and tens of thousands of people were greeting her all over the city. And eventually, at Iolani Palace, she was presented this doll as a gift from the Japanese American community. And the children had all contributed and raised money to have this custom made for her in Japan. And it became a very treasured piece throughout her lifetime and was kept in numerous homes in California.
Very interesting story. And let me ask my control room to show image number 5. And this is a candid. It looks like, and Kristin, you can help me out, this looks like a candid that was taken of her at play. And she has a...
she's having a tea party with Raggedy Ann.
With Raggedy Ann, and it's called a Voland Raggedy Ann, which appeared in many photos. And this is actually in the presentation as well. And Stuart, do you happen to have the Raggedy Ann there with you or not?
I don't have it with us right now, but it will be at the exhibit at Wenham.
Okay.
Excellent.
And the next one is a mid-1930s. It was a Steinway grand piano, which was presented to her by the Steinway family. And it will be part of the sale, the auction sale, Stuart. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. And let's see what the next item, number 7, is an accordion. This is a custom accordion that was given to her by the child Anna Galizzi, whose father was a famed Chicago accordion maker. And I believe you do have that with you, Stuart. Am I right?
Actually, it's right here. It's just a fabulous piece and was really beloved by Shirley. Anna Galizzi, who actually we've subsequently found out was from New York City, and whose father was from the famed Galizzi accordion manufacturer. She received an autographed picture from Shirley Temple, and in return sent Shirley this custom accordion made by her father, with, of course, Shirley written across the top right here, inscribed.
Yeah, and do we know, did Shirley Temple actually play the accordion, or was it just
Absolutely.
She did.
One of the intriguing parts of this whole collection is not just the pieces themselves, but the photo documentation that comes with so many of them. In many cases, such as the accordion, we have pictures of young Shirley with the accordion playing it in both poses for the studio and fun moments on her own.
What a talented person she was. Now, number 8, we have a picture, an image, and this is Tino Costa, a famed portrait painter in the 1930s, and he's sitting with her there, and the painting that he did. And this one will also be in the collection, Kristin. This will be exhibited.
Yes, that's correct.
And so that will be auctioned off as well, Stuart. Correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And the next image we have is a candid with her and the great dancer and co-star with her in films, Bill Bojangles Robinson. They formed a friendship, personal friendship over the years that they participated. And they're riding in this, it says a child-size Knickerbocker car, and it was made for Shirley Temple, and it was a gift from Bill Bojangles Robinson. And I do believe, Stuart and Kristin, this will also be in the auction and in the display as well. And Kristin, I think you may have an interesting viewpoint on this, because during those years, of course, there was a lot of racism and Bill Bojangles Robinson. Tell us a few of the stories. He sometimes wasn't allowed in the places that Shirley was allowed in.
I mean, as we all know at that time in American history, racial segregation was
Sure.
alive and well in many parts of our country. So it's my understanding that, during their working years together, there would be moments on their travels and on their times together where they may not be able to use, the same entrance to an establishment or, dine at the same table. So that's, an important also, artifact of history to remember those parts of the story as well.
Absolutely incredible story. And now the next one, number 10, this is from the movie Curly Top. And again, this is another example of Shirley and the costume designers doing her costume and making a doll as well with the same costume. And we're going to be talking a little bit more, Kristin, about Curly Top a little bit further on in our discussion. Let's take a look at the next one, and the number 11. I believe this was for the Texas Centennial. And again, she's dressed with a Texas Ranger costume and then a Texas Ranger doll. Is that anywhere near you, Stuart, there?
That's not here, but we will have a whole little Texas roundup of some of Shirley's objects. It's really wonderful. Her chaps that say Texas on it, the matching dolls, even her cowboy boots she wore.
Oh, boy, that is wonderful. And then I think that the next one, number 13, shows, I think this is actually from the catalog. These are some of the things that we've been talking about. I see the polka dot dress and the accordion and some other dresses that will be in the collection, the traveling collection, and in the auction. And they're also, I think, part of this. You're going to be selling a commemorative hardbound book. Is that correct?
Yes, Theriaults does own a number of copies of a book called Child Star, which is Shirley Temple's autobiography, and those will be available at the Wenham Museum during the exhibit, and they're also available now for pre-order through the museum shop.
Mm-hmm. Now, Stuart, I'm gonna address this question to you because I know in talking to Kristin, she's very thrilled that the Wenham Museum was chosen to be a very, very limited public viewing of these items. Why did you decide to do kind of a limited rather than try to get it exposed as many places as you could? And how were the venues chosen? Can you give us a little behind the scenes on that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. First of all, it just simply could not travel everywhere. We did not want to have a lot of wear and tear on the objects, obviously, over a number of cities, so we were very selective about the particular markets. Interestingly enough, for the Boston area, the family was very specific that they wanted the collection to go to Boston. And why is that? Boston was actually a beloved place for Shirley Temple. Her first visit in the 30s was a marked occasion, and she had a marvelous time, except for the time that she was sick for 2 days in bed at the Ritz-Carlton in Boston, and the whole world was reporting about every moment of that. But it's a very important place for the whole family, and they wanted to see it be in Boston.
Right.
Wenham was chosen because we liked the idea of smaller museums having the ability to host such an important moment in history with such a wonderful name. And for us, the Wenham has embodied everything our very company does in the idea of preserving history, especially with a slant towards childhood, which they have done so beautifully over the years.
Mm-hmm. And I understand you have a piece of Boston-specific exhibit, something there that relates to her time in Boston that's going to be auctioned off?
We do, and actually, well, it'll be the only piece or the only place it will be shown is in at the Wenham Museum, because it's a little piece of Boston history. There's a signed picture, of course, of Mayor Tobin, but as well, this wonderful little letter from the office of the mayor of Maurice Tobin, July 30th, 1938, where Mayor Tobin is requesting Miss Temple, who's staying at the Ritz-Carlton, to please come with him on August 1st to Field Day at Fenway Park, and that he would be honored as well as the whole city.
Wow. Do you know whether did she make it to that occasion?
She did. I believe that she did. There were a number of events that she was attending throughout the city, including a stroll through Boston, through the public gardens, which resulted in 10,000 people showing up, and
wow.
Police having to cordon off certain areas just to get her down the street. It was just absolute chaos. But she rode in your famous, I believe, your floating, you have your boats in the public gardens.
Right, yeah.
And she took a boat ride, and there's numerous photographs.
Yeah,
I just read today that apparently in the restaurant, at which it's now the Taj Hotel in Boston, in the restaurant they have the pictures of the celebrities who stayed there, and right next to Elizabeth Taylor is a picture of Shirley Temple there at the
Shirley
hotel
Temple.
in 1938.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're referring, of course, to the swan boats in the public garden. Right, exactly, yeah. And, I guess we forget, because it was such a long time ago in the 20s and 30s, we forget how popular and beloved she was every place she went, so Lady Gaga and some of the other performers today have nothing on Shirley Temple, right?
I try to call her phenomena being similar to the Beatles in the early 60s. This was the most photographed celebrity in the world. Everything she did, everywhere she went, everything she touched became a photograph and became a recorded moment. In history now, it allows this incredible look back at this rise to fame and the stardom that she held. But at the time, no one was photographed as much as Shirley Temple. Phenomenal,
yeah. Now I'm gonna ask Kristin, how were you first notified that you were going to be part of this tour and you were going to be one of the exhibition places? Did they just kind of call you on the phone, or what? How did that happen?
They did. It was a typical day at the Wenham Museum. We had our visitors and members in, and people having a great time in our galleries, and our curator, Jane Bowers, came into my office and said, I have Florence Theriault on the phone. And I said, oh, that's lovely. I mean, we're very familiar with Theriaults Auction House, as the doll masters, and as many people know, we do have a large number of dolls in our collection. And she said they would like to speak to us about hosting, the personal archive of Shirley Temple. And it was sort of like, the Shirley Temple? I mean, as a museum director, usually when a staff member comes into your office and says, we have somebody on the phone that wants to talk to you, it's not always good news. Yeah. So it was wonderful.
So after you picked yourself up off the floor,
yeah.
So what kind of preparations have gone on before this exhibit?
So we've had to take a real second look, at our hours and our staffing for that weekend. The exhibit will be here over Mother's Day weekend. We're anticipating really large crowds. We've had wonderful support from the town of Wenham and our trustees to kind of help support bringing this experience to the community. We will be expanding our hours while the exhibit is here. We also are hosting our annual spring fundraiser in the middle of this exhibit. That event was previously scheduled for this weekend, and we have sort of revised the theme for that event in order to make it a great sort of private experience for those who wish to attend. With the collection, we are bringing in a tent for our fundraiser and also to help with overflow traffic for our guests and to make sure they're comfortable. And we're really just doing everything we can to get the museum, ship shape for a lot of company. So
fantastic. Yeah. Now, Stuart, let me ask you, what was it like working with? I guess it's the Black family, right? Because she was Shirley Temple and her married name was Black. So, what was it like working with the family?
It was a fabulous experience. I spent 2.5 weeks along with a crew working in the house, and a lot of the processes were not just the packing of the collection, but the archival and curating of all the objects, matching photographs to pieces so that people can have not just a look at the item, but also have a true glimpse of Shirley with that item at the time. They were fabulous to work with. They are very concerned, obviously, and appreciative of the legacy of their mother as an iconic figure and want to see that continued. They also really do believe that she belongs to the world in some ways. That moment in history is truly an American experience. And they wanted to see this collection become part of a traveling exhibition for that reason. So they were fabulous to work with.
Wonderful. Now, what is Theriaults' expectations on how this will go with the amount that these things will go through? Do you expect that private people will be bidding, or do you expect like maybe billionaires will want to buy every piece for a private collection?
You know, honestly, what I like to really focus on with this collection, that there are going to be 500 pieces that will ultimately be in the catalog and the auction, 100 of which or more at the Wenham Museum. But what I really want to focus on is the idea that there is something for everyone. There are a number of pieces in this collection in the dolls area or documents area, papers, that could be in the hundreds of dollars, enabling really everyone to have a chance to maybe own something from Shirley Temple's life. Are there iconic pieces that could end up fetching tens of thousands of dollars? Well, of course there are. But I do believe that there's a broad range for everyone here, and this will have an engaging moment in history for everyone.
Fantastic. And now I just want perhaps the two of you to comment. You know, we were talking about how popular she was as a child star, but she became quite known for her humanitarianism as an adult. And Kristin was kind of making a comparison between your mother, I believe, that started your business, or was it your grandmother, and the humanitarian aspect of Shirley Temple. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that, Kristin.
Yes, I was referencing the last little girl that grew up in the museum's historic house. The Wenham Museum is a history museum, and we do steward a first period colonial home that was occupied up until about the early 1900s. And the last child that grew up in that house was a little girl named Elizabeth Richards Horton, and as an adult she became a doll collector. Ultimately, she sent her doll collection around the world on a tour to raise money for children's charities. And her doll collection became one of the foundational collections in our museum and started the basis of our doll collection. So when we were approached by Theriaults, we just loved sort of the synergy that was created between, Shirley Temple being this iconic figure as a child and growing up to really do so much more as a humanitarian and a public servant. And it really made us think of our own collection, our own founding, and our own mission, and the wonderful story that we have to share about this, little girl who grew up on the North Shore, who also really grew up to be a humanitarian and a philanthropist. So there was a really nice parallel there.
Yeah, I wonder, Stuart, were you aware of that history?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, when I presented to the family my idea of approaching the Wenham Museum, which was our first choice for Boston, I told them that story because I felt that it would resonate with them in the own ideals of their mother. And sure enough, as soon as I told them that story, they said, "We want to be a different."
Very well done. Now let's talk a little bit about some specifics. The exhibit. Now, Stuart, guide us through. Is the Wenham Museum the first museum on this tour? Tell us where it's going to go. Give us the sequence.
We'll be in Rochester, New York, and then we'll travel to the Wenham Museum for their exclusive moment. The only location in New England, as a matter of fact, will be Wenham.
Okay, and then where will it go from there?
From there into the New York area at the Morris Museum, and then to Santa Monica, which was Shirley Temple's birthplace, at the Santa Monica History Museum, Palo Alto, California, Dallas, Texas, and then Chicago.
Fantastic. Now, give us, Kristin, give us the dates. I know you talked about the fundraiser. Your yearly fundraiser is going to be right in the middle of the exhibit, but tell us the dates of the exhibit.
Yes, the exhibit will be Thursday, May 7th through Sunday, May 10th, which is Mother's Day. You can confirm the hours of the exhibit and purchase tickets in advance through the Wenham Museum website, which is wenhammuseum.org.
And the fundraiser is on May?
The fundraiser is on Friday, May 7th. So that day we will be closing the museum galleries at 4 p.m. to prepare for that event. The fundraiser is from 7 to 10. It's open to the public. Everyone is welcome to come. And it's an important part of our philanthropic mission and our outreach to the community to host these events to help, sustain our mission.
Right.
So.
And I know that you are collaborating with the newly reopened Cabot Theater in downtown Beverly tell us about it. They will be screening the movie Curly Top, and tell us the date and time of that.
So on Sunday, May 3rd at 2 p.m., we will be recreating with the Cabot Performing Arts Center a 1930s matinee experience. So we'll be showing some 1930s newsreels, some 1930s cartoons.
Wonderful.
And of course, Curly Top. It was so hard to pick a film to show for Shirley Temple because there's so much to choose from, but we decided on this, and that event is also part of Art Week Boston. So folks can learn about that through that website as well.
Right. And Stuart, the auction itself will be, tell us the date of the auction and the place of the auction.
It'll be July 14th in Kansas City at a wonderful 1930s restored hall called the Little Theater, and open to the public.
Okay, and at Kansas City, Missouri, not in Annapolis where you are now.
Kansas City, Missouri, exactly.
Kansas City.
It's at the National Convention of Childhood Doll Collectors.
Okay, very good. Well, I would like to thank you, Stuart Holbrook of Theriaults, for showing us this wonderful part of this very wonderful collection, and thank you for your very vivid descriptions.
My pleasure.
And also Kristin Noon, who is the Executive Director of the Wenham Museum. And I just want to encourage all of our viewers to take some time to visit the Wenham Museum during this collection, from the 7th to the 10th of May. And Kristin, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
And Stuart, again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And this is Walt Kosmowski for North Shore Journal. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.